It's been a long time since we've last talked. I haven't made an NFL video since the night of the NFL draft when the Steelers selected Najee Harris, and I made that video about being excited for that one. And sadly, since we've last talked, that's been the last W a single team of mine has taken. If you guys don't know, I am a Steelers fan. I go for the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you guys know anything about hockey, I go for the Georgia Bulldogs, and then I go for the Atlanta Braves. And then for the NBA, for some reason, I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. Don't ask, just know I am. Georgia's did some pretty decent things. There's also rumors we may be getting Deion Kendrick, a cornerback transfer from Clemson. But this is the NFL. When we talk about the NFL, the Steelers are the Steelers, and I'm not too excited for this next season. I'm excited to see Najee Harris, but I keep my feelings on the tuck because I really don't think I don't get too excited for the Steelers because I already know at the end of the season there's letdown, and I'm just not going to get myself excited and then allow myself to be let down. Like last year when we were 11-0, I knew the team wasn't really special, even though we were 11-0. I didn't see the team as the best in the NFL. I never did, especially after that Dallas Cowboys game. I think that was when I realized we aren't good. And so when we started going 1-5, when we ended the season going 1-6. I kind of had it had already sunk into me that this team wasn't good at football, so I kind of already, allowed myself not to get too excited. My hopes were already down, so I just simply didn't care. The loss against the Browns, I just simply didn't care. I already knew this team was terrible, but today we got some interesting stuff to talk about because if you guys don't know, I am located in Atlanta. Don't come looking for me. You probably won't find me, but I'm located in Atlanta, and Atlanta's got some big stuff going on right now. You got the NBA playoffs. They're up 3-1. The Georgia Bulldogs are looking whatever decent. Georgia Tech, who knows what Georgia Tech's got going on. And, Julio Jones wants to be traded from Atlanta. He got on what's the Shannon Sharp show called, Undisputed, and he said that he was out of there, and he didn't want to go to the Cowboys. I don't think he knew he was live. But he was speaking his truth mind. And honestly, I don't really feel like players should have to bottle up how they're feeling about, certain situations. For instance, Julio not wanting to play in Atlanta, he should be able to go in an interview and say, yeah, I don't want to play for this team anymore. Like James Harden did when he wanted to get out of Brooklyn. It's stuff like that. I don't feel like players should have to hide that. I feel like players should be able to be vocal about it so that stuff can get done. James Harden was telling the Rockets, he was telling people out loud he didn't want to play for the Rockets anymore, and then 2 days later he was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. So I do feel like players being more out loud gets things done rather than them bottling up emotion and not saying anything. For instance, Aaron Rodgers right now, we all know Aaron Rodgers does not want to be in Green Bay, but I feel like he's hiding a lot of it, so he's not really doing anything about it. But even then, if you're gonna be vocal about wanting to be traded, you need to say, hey, I want to go to 49ers. I want to go to the 49ers. I want to go to 49ers. And that's something he should say every day. But let's get back to this Julio Jones situation because teams have been recruiting him. Teams have been reaching out. And the Falcons, they hold all the cards right now. And if I'm the Falcons, a couple things I want from the Julio Jones trade. I don't want a player. I don't want a player who can come in and play. I want picks for next year's draft. First round picks for the next at least 2 or 3 drafts. I mean, it's Julio Jones. It's not like it's not some random beat up wide receiver. This is Julio Jones we're talking about. I mean, still to this day, I think Julio Jones is top 5 receiver. If not, he's probably still the best wide receiver in football. So I feel like any team that lands Julio Jones is going to be very, happy to get him. And I think some teams right now that could use a wide receiver that would really elevate the team. I would say the Ravens, but I feel like they had a good offseason. They kind of brought in some talent. But the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks with Julio Jones could be deadly with Russell Wilson. And I think Russell Wilson had some trade rumors earlier this offseason, but I'm pretty sure he'll be all right. If I'm Russell Wilson, they really just got to get over that second half slump that they usually have in the season where they'll dominate the first half of the season. Then the second half, they look like a team that doesn't know how to play football. But that's something they got to work on. With Julio Jones, that adds a whole new level to that team. I mean, they're already a stacked offense. They got some pretty decent defenders. The defense is a bit shaky and not really that good, but Julio Jones would definitely elevate that offense, to a point that it's already at. Julio and DK would probably also automatically become the best wide receiver duo in the league because I don't think anyone would come simply close to that. DK Metcalf is a top receiver in the game, and I think he's going to continue to improve and continue to get great at the sport. I was one of the people that slept on him. I won't sleep on him anymore. I've woken up and I'm watching him. The 49ers are slept on as an offensive team. They made it to the Super Bowl with the offense they had, and their offense has never really been that good. But you put a guy like Julio Jones in charge. Now they got Trey Lance, a quarterback who could, I doubt who will come in and start instantly. I think it'd be a bad idea if he started instantly. But you get a guy who can come in and be just a wide receiver threat for that team. You got Deebo Samuel. You can kind of get him open a little bit more when you got a guy like Julio Jones outside taking, making the defense take notes and moving the defense around. It gets a guy like Deebo Samuels open, and that's a scary sight because Deebo Samuels can do a lot. He's a very agile guy. He can definitely move around the offense. So it's really someone you want to have. And who's the 49ers running back? Did they ever draft a running back? 'Cause I don't think it's still Raheem Mostert. I'm pretty sure they've gotten someone. I may be going brain dead here. If I'm correct, they drafted Ohio State's running back. I may be wrong though. They drafted Trey Sermon, if I'm correct. That may be wrong, but I'm definitely, the 49ers are a team that's 2 or 3 pieces away from being possibly the best team in the NFC. And I feel like no one's sleeping on it because I feel like everyone realizes that. But now that they've got a quarterback in Trey Lance, who I doubt will start instantly, I'm pretty sure he'll sit for a bit and kind of learn. But by the time they get Trey Lance going, I think he'll be a great quarterback. He'll push the 49ers if he can be a good quarterback. He can push the 49ers over that hump they're on right now and turn them into a 11, 12, 13, 14 win team. Considering we now play 17 games in the NFL for some reason. So thank Roger Goodell for that. L with double L's for a reason. The Cardinals are another team that people have been saying, and the Cardinals doesn't really make sense to me because I'm going to be real right now. I don't think the Cardinals are that good of a team. I still don't think they're that good of a team. Earlier, I made a video about J.J. Watt choosing to go to the Cardinals, and I said, look, they got to have a great offseason. If he wants to play for a contender, the Cardinals are simply not a contender, and they need to have a great offseason and try to build a super team or something, and they simply didn't do that. They got some pieces, but they didn't get important enough players. They lost Patrick Peterson. I think they went down this offseason, actually. They gained J.J. Watt. That's about it. And we still got to consider how healthy J.J. Watt can stay. Can he stay on the field? Can he continue to play? Will he have any problems, injury-wise? Because he struggles to play full seasons. But when he's on the field, he is a beast. And that's one thing I want them to look at. They got Chandler Jones, I believe, still. They got a lot they need to still improve on. And I still, right now at this moment, don't think they're really a team worth looking out for. I think they're still a basic tier team. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cardinals do. Julio Jones to the Cardinals really just adds another level to that offense, but their defense is still poor, and I think their offense is still, at this point, mid. With Julio, it would make it a good offense. Let's see how good their offensive line plays. Let's see how good Kyler Murray plays, because that's really what it's going to boil down to, Kyler Murray. And then finally, there was the Titans. The Titans have been reaching out to him hard. I know Derrick Henry gave him a shout out on Twitter. I know A.J. Brown left a little voice message that was kind of hard to listen to. It was pretty cringe. But I think Julio Jones to the Titans would be it'd be somewhat of a good move. I don't want to. I'm really in this point where I feel like Julio is like one of those players that I feel like any team can take him. Some teams don't need him because they have two running backs. Two wide receivers that are already good. Some do not. The Titans have AJ Brown. They could use Julio Jones definitely, and that would actually be probably the most scariest offense on this list that I've said. I know I said the Seahawks would have the most dangerous wide receiver group, but the Titans would have the scariest offense if they were to add Julio Jones. I don't know if they have the money for it, but that'd be very scary. You got Julio Jones, you got A.J. Brown, you got Derrick Henry. Their quarterback situation is a little shaky with Ryan Tannehill. Let's see how good Ryan Tannehill really is. Because, to be honest, I think Derrick Henry's doing most of the work for that offense. When Derrick Henry's on the field, offenses tend to format the run. He rushed for 2,000 yards last season. So, I feel like when he's on the field, the defense is shifting their focus to him, which is allowing Ryan Tannehill to get players open. The RPO is definitely the most dangerous in the league because that RPO, when you see somebody pretend like they're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry or even look like they're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, you got to close those gaps because it takes more than one person to tackle him. So getting him behind the line is pretty impossible. And I think with Julio, it adds another stick to that defense where now we gotta watch that RPO, but now we gotta stay on Julio. So when he drops back to pass, it gets guys like AJ Brown open, who I think had a big year last year, 1,500 receiving yards or something like that. Julio's been not slacking; he just hasn't been as mainstream lately with Matt Ryan's kind of struggles and the coaching struggles. I don't even want to say Matt Ryan. I really feel like it's been mostly the coaches for Atlanta. Their struggles and stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Julio Jones would motivate this Titans offense. I think the Titans are already a great team, but they're a few pieces away from being, more than great. You know what I mean? I don't really know a word to use for it, but they're a few pieces away from that. So it'd be really interesting to see Julio Jones in Tennessee. That's not too far from Atlanta either. And I think actually Tennessee they play Atlanta next season, I think. So he'd have a little revenge game to go after. But that's pretty much it for the Julio Jones trade, man. Well, I guess I'll talk about him wanting to leave Atlanta. It makes total sense. Atlanta hasn't done really anything for him. He's played in a Super Bowl where they had one of the greatest chokes of all time. I think if they win that Super Bowl, he really has no reason to leave Atlanta. But I think the problem with Julio is that he left this. They lost that Super Bowl and they've been nowhere near close to getting back. The team has just been a bust since. And I don't think we will ever see Atlanta on that form again. As long as they have this coaching the coaching that they have struggles. Arthur Blank has been unable to get this team on the right track. They did draft who they draft first round? Oh yeah, Kyle Pitts. Oh my goodness, Kyle Pitts. Imagine if they keep Julio. That'd be disgusting. If I'm Atlanta, I'm not going to trade Julio until maybe right before midseason. He's going to start the season on Atlanta. I want to see how this team looks with Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan, and Julio Jones. I don't know who the running back is. It still Todd Gurley? Then, I mean, that's all right. Todd Gurley's not really that good no more, but he's kind of past his prime. But I would wait to trade Julio if I'm Atlanta. If I'm Atlanta, we're going to let you see how this new team, we're going to see how this new team's going to look before we trade you. If we still suck, boom, you can go. We can trade you, get some picks, prepare for the next draft. But if this team is looking great, which I feel like they will look offensively at least, it's never, the thing is with Atlanta, it's never been the offense. It's always been the fact that their defense is pure hot dog water. So with them drafting Kyle Pitts early it's kind of questionable for me, but I mean, what are you going to do, man? You're trying to win. They need some sure tacklers on that defense. I don't know if they really got that this year. Small steps, baby steps, making the team better. And Kyle Pitts is maybe that, but he was the best player on the board. And I think it was a smart pick for them to pick him instead of going in some totally different direction with a player who's not as good, So I like the Kyle Pitts pick. I think it makes them deadly. They've been looking for a tight end to recover since they lost Austin Hooper. So Kyle Pitts, I mean, I'm a Georgia fan, so I got to saw firsthand what he can do, his ability and how dangerous he is. He's almost like an athlete. He's like DK Metcalf lining up at tight end, kind of like a demigod freak. And I liked him a lot. I liked his play style. You saw how that Florida team was without him. So he's got that ability to put the team on his back. He's got that high motor. He brings that energy to the game that you need, and it's gonna be real interesting. If I'm the Falcons, I think we could have a big four here. I'm gonna leave it at that. And I think that's what the Falcons should do. Do not trade Julio Jones before the season. Get a taste of it first. And then if it's still not working, move on from it. But if it's working, keep him on the team. Because he's not going to be unhappy if the team's doing great. Now, if you guys start the season and you're 0-3 or 2-2 and 2-5 or, just not good enough, then yeah, let's get him out of here. No reason to force him to play here if he doesn't want to be here. But let's just get a little taste of it first, see how it works. So that's the end for the Julio Jones trade situation. The next topic is going to be not really another quarterback. We're going to move to another play. We're going to move to a position battle. And when we talk about position battle, we're going to talk about the battle in Boston, Mac Jones or Cam Newton. Now, this one's interesting, and I just thought of this right before I started recording because I've been seeing a lot of talk about Mac Jones. And being a Georgia fan, he's another player I got to see firsthand. I got to witness firsthand how dominant he was. And I also got to see some things that make me kind of question his ability. However, Cam Newton didn't take a lot of heat last season. A lot of people, he did play poor last season. And when I say poor, I mean absolute poor, 1 cent poor. He played awful. But he didn't have any weapons, and I think people were starting to see the same thing. If Tom Brady couldn't, win with that team, what made you think Cam Newton was going to come in and turn that team around? Was it the black and white monochrome workout videos? Was it the working out to gospel music? Come on, man. It's just nothing. No quarterback could have come in and led that Boston New England Patriots team last season. I've been watching the Celtics play the Nets. I'm sorry, but I don't really think any quarterback could have come in and led that Patriots team last season because that team was poor. All the opt-outs, they're now returning. The offensive weapons they didn't have, they now have weapons. They spent the most money this year in free agency with like $200 million. They brought in weapons all over the field. They brought in wide receivers. They brought in tight ends and Hunter Henry. They brought in more wide receivers. They brought in defensive pieces. I really like it for the Patriots. However, the most interesting thing is they did bring Cam Newton back on a 1-year deal. They want to give him another chance. Now, it brings me in the next situation of let's taste it. Let's taste this Patriots offense with Cam Newton before we even think about putting Mac Jones on the field. There's no reason Mac Jones should or will start game 1 this season for I keep saying the Boston Patriots. We might as well the Boston Patriots, okay? For the New England Patriots. But I do think eventually he will come in this season for Cam Newton because, like I said, Cam Newton is a mistake-ridden quarterback. He makes a lot of mistakes. He can't throw well at all anymore at this point of his career. He can't really scramble well either. So Cam Newton's kind of like a liability. We'll see his ability to throw in the mid-range game, some short passes, and we'll see his ability to work the RPO. I don't know how good their running backs are, but I don't think they signed a top running back. They do need a running back. They took Mac Jones. So Mac Jones, when I look at Mac Jones, I think I'm not gonna say he's a better quarterback than Cam Newton, because that'd be a dog water take. But I will say there's a lot he can do better than Cam Newton. But Cam Newton has the experience. Cam Newton has the awareness, and that's going to be important for a starting quarterback, especially earlier in the season. I don't really think it's smart to start a rookie quarterback. There's only a few instances I see a rookie quarterback who should get drafted and already know he's starting. And those are a few, like for instance, this year you got Trevor Lawrence is going to start. That's obvious. Zach Wilson's going to start. That's obvious. Other than that, I don't think any other quarterback selected will start instantly. And that's because it's all built on awareness. And sometimes you want to let these guys sit. I mean, Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. He played the final game that of his rookie year, and they knew he was like, oh, this guy's good, and he's a good quarterback. And then the next season he started. You let him sit for a year, learn, and then that second season you let him step up. I don't really think there's much Mac Jones is going to learn from Cam Newton though. Cam Newton and Mac Jones are totally different quarterbacks. Mac Jones is more of a Tom Brady built quarterback, where Cam Newton is more of like a mobile, move out of the pocket type quarterback. It's going to be really interesting though, because Mac Jones has that deep ball. I don't know if they have any deep threats on the Patriots, but his ability is the deep ball, those medium throws. He can make those perceptionally well. You gotta question his now that he's not playing with the best talent in the nation. It's gonna be real interesting to see his ability of what he can do in the NFL. He's going against pros now. He's not going against. He's no longer playing on an NFL ready team in college football. That Bama team last year was as good as I think I've ever seen a team. They broke the record for most first round players selected with like 8 or 9. So that's crazy when you think about it. And then they just had the number 1 recruiting class of all time. So that's like there's not much really to say with this Mac Jones or Cam Newton, but that's just kind of the point I wanted to get across. It's going to be interesting to see who can win that battle. I don't think Mac Jones will start instantly, but eventually I think he will come in. I think Patriots fans want to see him come in. I mean, we've seen Cam Newton with talent. We've seen him without, but we haven't really seen him with a stacked offense. And I feel like this year he will probably have one of the best offenses when we talk about players that he will play with. I mean, he's got a tight end. He's got some wide receivers. N'Keal Harry, he just kind of disappeared. He was supposed to be that guy, but he isn't that guy at all. He kind of disappeared from the face of the earth. He's not that great at all, which is weird because I feel like most players go to that Bill Belichick system and they dominate. And it's going to be interesting to see what Bill can do with Mac Jones, if he can turn him into the quarterback we saw at Bama, or if Mac Jones is going to go down as the next Jimmy Garoppolo, backup quarterback who can win, but, he can't really start and lead your team to the promised land. He'll only be I don't want to say mediocre because I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is mediocre. Jimmy Garoppolo is average. And I don't think Mac Jones will be an average quarterback, especially not in the Patriots system. Now, there are some teams I look at where I'm like, he would not be a good quarterback on this team. But on the Patriots and that Bill Belichick system, I think he has potential to be special. So that's going to be interesting for Mac Jones. And then last but not least, let's talk about the Bears. They drafted a quarterback as well, but it's not really a battle going on. He's already secured the top spot. And I know I just named out quarterbacks who should start. I don't think Justin Fields should start his first year. But he will because the Bears don't have a quarterback besides him. So Justin Fields is brought in to start. He slid in the draft to, pick 10, pick 11. And he's in Chicago now. Former Georgia Bulldog, former Georgia 5-star quarterback, transferred to Ohio State, made it to a national championship, got absolutely clobbered by 30 points. Justin Fields. And before we even start, I want to say this, okay? Because I feel like a lot of people are afraid of Justin Fields, and I'm gonna say my reason why I feel like people are afraid of him. It's not so much as to, the games where he played a good defense and he struggled. It's the games where actually it's not games period. It's more of the nature of Ohio State quarterbacks. Out of all these Ohio State quarterbacks that have led them to the national championship, that have won them the national championship, what has happened when they got to the NFL? Earlier in on an earlier episode of the podcast, I talked about how I felt like Ohio State was system quarterback U. I feel like quarterbacks that go to Ohio State are just simply not good. Dwayne Haskins, terrible. JT Barrett, terrible. What's the other guy's name? Cardell Jones or something like that, terrible. These guys don't get to the NFL and look decent at all. But I think Justin Fields is going to be the guy to break that. And when I say that, I'm saying I'm very excited for this Bears team and the future of this Bears team because I think they've got some magic cooking up. They got some good stuff cooking up. Justin Fields is one of the top 5 highest quarterback recruits of all time, and Kirby Smart happily gave him away for Jake Fromm. I think Justin Fields will break the curse. The Ohio State system quarterback curse. I think with this Bears team, it's the perfect fit for him because the Bears are not a bad team. Justin Fields getting drafted to a bad team would suck. Like Zach Wilson going to the Jets. I feel bad for Zach Wilson because he's kind of walking into a dumpster fire. Trevor Lawrence is walking into a dumpster fire as well. And Justin Fields is one of the quarterbacks who Mac Jones walks into a good team as well, but Justin Fields is really the team I see walking. I feel like he got drafted to the best opportunity. Or actually, no, maybe Trey Lance. Trey Lance in the 49ers, because the 49ers is a great team. I think people are sleeping on that. So I don't know. Well, we're going to give it to Justin Fields because we got to remember the Bears were like 4-0 last season. They were a good team. It's just Mitchell Trubisky is not good at all. He was never good. And now that they've gotten Justin Fields, I feel like even if Justin Fields is mediocre, it's a big upgrade. And I think it's enough to get this Bears team to the playoffs. I think it's enough to get the Bears some wins. And it's enough to make the Bears look like a quality football team. They've got a great defense, one of the best in the league. They got some great players on that team. One of them being, Roquan Smith, that Georgia Bulldog, the Georgia prospect. But it's really been the offense. Darnell Mooney, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league, kind of reminds me of the Steelers and Deontay Johnson. Like, he's shifty. When he gets the ball, he's deadly in the open field. I mean, there's clips of him shaking up Jalen Ramsey multiple times, but being overthrown or underthrown or inaccurate passes. And it kind of sucks. They got Allen Robinson, who's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. And Justin Fields, with his accuracy with his deep ball, his accuracy with just medium passes and longer passes, which is something he specializes in. The short passes, the short passes or whatever, but those medium long to long passes are going to be where he shines the most, and that's what the Bears need. And I think the Bears got the best steal in this draft with getting Justin Fields at pick number 10. It's an absolute steal. It's great. I think Justin Fields will break the system quarterback curse at Ohio State. I think we're going to see him do some special things this year, like, I don't know, maybe offensive rookie of the year. He's going to be competing with my Steelers and, Najee Harris from Bama. But I think Justin Fields is going to shock a lot of people this year. I think he will look better than he did at Ohio State. And I know that's saying a lot, but Justin Fields, it kind of reminds me, I don't want to say he didn't fly under the radar, because honestly, I feel like let me not say this, because I said Zach Wilson, in my opinion, would be the best, the most NFL ready quarterback. But after the draft, I think Justin Fields might be that guy, or Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence is in Jacksonville, so I don't think his talent really is going to show as much as, as good as he is. I think Justin Fields has the best opportunity to look like the best quarterback. And I know this is something I know Justin Fields won't admit, but I feel like there's a rivalry between him and Trevor Lawrence. They both played in Georgia. I don't think they played each other. They didn't. They both came from Georgia. Trevor Lawrence was rated a higher quarterback than him in some of the rankings. Justin Fields was rated the number one quarterback over Trevor Lawrence in some of the rankings. I don't really think there's too much friendliness between these two guys. I think there's a deep secret rivalry. I think this could be, we look at rivalries. I think we got Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson right now, or Patrick and it's Patrick and Lamar. I was gonna say Patrick and Baker, but it's not really interesting. I think a Baker and maybe Joe Burrow could be a new rivalry. Let's see. I think Justin Fields and Trevor will be a good rivalry, even though it's not going to be often that the Bears play the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're also in different conferences, so I don't really think that can be a rivalry. If anything, I would be looking at Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Herbert, because it's going to be a fun game. But I'm just excited to see which quarterback in this draft is going to take that big leap, that big step forward, and who's going to stand out when the season first starts. And I think it will be Justin Fields. Justin Fields has the best offensive weapons out of any quarterback. He's the best defense out of any of the quarterbacks taken. He's been placed on a team that's already ready to compete. And as a quarterback, that's something you want. And that's pretty much all I got to say for Justin Fields and the Bears. I really wanted to make this video when he first got drafted, but I know I've been pushing it off, so there's not much to say now. Each quarterback, all the teams have already been running through OTAs, so probably be dropping some more info on that lately. It's the off season, because it's gonna get harder and harder to talk about the NFL and teams and players, because right now it's just the off season. So only thing we can really talk about is big news, like for instance the Julio Jones, and for the other thing with other topics, we got to make it up. So make sure you guys let me know what you guys want me to talk about. And until next time, guys, it's been your boy Kid. Subscribe today to become a sports junkie. Make sure you guys share to your friends. We're at 116. We're trying to get 120. Small steps. Let's slowly move up. Let's hit 200 subs by the end of the summer. And until next time, guys, it's been your boy Kid again. Thank you. See you soon.